What up, everyone? Welcome to the FitBiz Podcast. Jordan here with your co-host, I should say. And today I'm gonna give you something more mindset related. And this is coming up for me right now, which is comparison, expectations, being upset with not growing at the rate which you expect to be growing. This is something we all deal with, and it's not about the money for almost all of us, for most of us. Now, at the beginning, when we're broke or if we're struggling, sure, it's most likely about the money. But if we're not growing in our business, a lot of times it's because we reflect that back on ourselves, and nobody wants to be stagnant, right? Fulfillment comes from growth, comes from moving forward, making progress. And so, but so often we compare ourselves with people to our left and to our right, and it especially gets worse when we're not personally growing. And so then we start to expend more bandwidth on like why we're not growing instead of actually just doing the fucking work, right? Which doesn't make any sense. But an example of this is a lot of people will compare themselves to Erin and I, okay? So Erin and I, when I met her, she'd already built a successful fitness business that she'd operated for like 3 or 4 years. And let me just say, a lot of people compare themselves to Erin. It took Erin and I combined, like it took us 6 years to reach 7 figures in our fitness business, all right? Or it was more like 5. Yeah, she started in 2012. We came together in 2017. We had our first 7-figure year like a year later. So when her and I came together, we went from 500K, or well, she was at 300K to 7 figures in 1 year. But Erin had been running that business for 5 years before me. And so it really like kind of triggers her when we have students who expect to be at 7 figures like after a year. And it's like, yo, like it took me 5. What the fuck are you talking about? But anyways, and then we were obviously able to grow IFCA extremely fast to where it's at now. And we were able to grow the fitness business to 7 figures and sustain that for multiple years and then sell it. But comparing like if you're comparing yourself to Erin and I is crazy because for one, we have 2 of us, and 2, we have different character traits, different beliefs, different skills that I'll share a little bit about my background and why I think that I'm pretty good at this game of business, but I'm really bad at other things. And personally, there's one thing, which is a character trait, which has really held me back. But I've had skills personally because I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. All right, my dad owned a welding distribution company that he sold when he was younger and then started a industrial gas supply company and a cylinder remanufacturing shop. I started a used car dealership when I was like 19. I started a co-op buying group where I used to purchase high-pressure cylinders from South Korea and resell them into other like non-competing markets. And like I've done all kinds of shit like that. I started a fish pick ruler company where it was a gag gift that, you know, it was basically an 8-inch ruler that had 12 markings on it that made your quote unquote fish look bigger than what it really was. So like I have a lot of business experience relative to most people who just say, hey, I'm going to become an online coach, right? I'd had sales experience, marketing, networking. And so that was a big reason I was able to step into partnering with Erin and we were able to grow so fast. And then that was a big reason I was able to step into IFCA and we were able to grow so fast. But like trying to compare yourselves to us is no different than comparing yourself to LeBron James if you're not as good at him or as good as basketball as him, right? Think about it. He's 6'8". He has the most insane genetic predisposition for like high twitch muscle fibers and speed and explosiveness. And not only that, the environment that he came from, the only way to survive was to succeed in basketball. Like, let's be honest, right? He comes from a pretty bad area in Akron. You know, so he was dealing with different pressure than you, right? So if you're like, well, I didn't make it to the NBA, like you wouldn't compare yourself to LeBron, nor would you compare yourself to like a Tiger Woods, right? Tiger's dad had him swinging golf clubs at like fucking 2 years old, right? Maybe you pick up a golf club when you were like 12, but Tiger now has 10 years on you. And so those are more skill related, right? Because to be an effective business owner, you need 3 things. You need to have the skills, the character traits, and the beliefs. When it comes to beliefs, that's one we often miss because skills are more easy to recognize. But honestly, like a lot skills, character traits, and beliefs, they don't sit in the public view. Like you can't look at somebody and just automatically assess like, oh, you have those 3 things like you might a LeBron James, right? You don't look like LeBron James. So it might be easier to understand. But if somebody has stronger skills, character traits, and beliefs than you, that doesn't just show up when you see them. But that's why you compare yourself. You're like, well, I look like them. Like there's nothing different between me and you. There actually is. Like Erin, as an example, she grew up in a very, very low income household. Her family struggled financially. Like She had to work her fucking ass off to get out of that. But more importantly, her mom spoke a lot of belief and conviction into her from a young age. She had from a very young age, she also was like responsible for helping to raise her brother and sister. And so she like had all these skills and these character traits and these beliefs even before, she was an adult. Another example of this is our client Bianca, who, shout out to Bianca. She came to us and accelerated pretty fast, especially in the realm of like hiring and leadership. Okay, this is one that a lot of people struggle with, okay, because hiring and leadership is one where your character traits and your beliefs are going to come to the surface. If you don't have strong character traits and beliefs, you're going to struggle with leadership because those are the foundation of such, right? But Bianca came to us and she crushed it. Like, she hired her coaches. She had her culture system set up. She had strong core values. She was using the feedback process. She was doing all the systems that we give our students for hiring, management, and leadership, and just executing them perfectly. And so Aaron and I were having a conversation with her one night, and we're like, how are you so good at this stuff? She's like, well, my family owned restaurants, and I was basically, it might have not have been her family, maybe friends, but she was like managing restaurants at like 16 years old and had done that for years. Think about that. The high stress environment that comes with being in a restaurant, the quick decision-making, the leadership, the communication skills that have to come as a result of that. So if you're stepping into business, right, and you don't have that kind of work history, or you don't have that kind of family lineage. Like, personally, I was reading profit and loss statements and balance sheets when I was like 9 or 10. I thought it was cool. And my dad used to show me those things. I used to watch how they set up like, floor-based manufacturing processes. And I used to watch, like, I used to sell all the time. Like, and then I started selling cars when I was 19. Listen, if you can sell a fucking 1975, or that's a bad example. If you can sell like a 2004 Camry with $230,000 or 230,000 miles on it, you can sell a high value fitness program, right? So anyways, look, I just share all this to try to help you regain some perspective and to remind you that every day that you're in this game, you are strengthening your character traits, your beliefs, and obviously the skills we don't need to touch on. You have to develop the skills. Skills are going to be the first thing to hang you up. But once you develop skills like sales, marketing, fulfillment, systems, like, then it really comes down to who you are as a person. Like me personally, I'll leave you with this. I definitely lacked, and I still do to a degree, but I'm getting better, emotional stability and emotional control. Because even though your family can set you up in a positive way for going into business, it can also be the exact opposite, right? So for me, I came from a very chaotic household, divorced family at like 11, and it was just a lot of shit, a lot of fighting, a lot of instability. And so I tend to recreate that a lot, and I tend to lack emotional control. So for a long time, I'm getting better at it, but I would just go like break things in the business just to fix them. Or if things would be going too steady and too smooth, I would get uncomfortable subconsciously, right? I wouldn't like wake up in the morning and be like, I'm going to break something today, and let me put that on my power list. But it would just happen because I wasn't used to stability. And those were things that I had to like recognize in myself and be self-aware, be introspective, and to also take feedback, right? When people tell me that, when coaches tell me that, I listen and I really take it to heart. And then the emotional stability too. Look, if you don't have emotional stability, that's going to show up in your business, man. Like, and it's going to drive you crazy. And it's okay if you don't right now. Don't be hard on yourself. There's no reason that you shouldn't, especially if you hadn't been given those experiential tools growing up. But the moment, or you're never going to be able to correct it if you don't recognize it, right? So you have to start recognizing where are your deficits with your character traits and your beliefs, okay, so that you can actually put your skills to use. So that's all I got today. Hopefully you found this valuable, and if so, shoot me a message, let me know, tag me on Instagram, and please just share this with somebody who also listens to podcasts and who likes business stuff. Thanks, guys.